Everything we've discussed so far about the definitions and the responsibility of ADSD can be found in the Nevada Revised Statutes, NRS. The law guides ADSD decisions about whether or not to open a case for investigation, as well as whether or not to substantiate a case. Also found in this section of the NRS are guidelines for mandated reporters, which will be discussed in greater detail a little later in the presentation. There are also some regulations for reporting vulnerable adult abuse that are specified to different types of facilities that can be found in the Nevada Administrative Code, NAC. In addition to Nevada state law, long-term care facilities have their own set of federal guidelines they must follow. They are called the Code of Federal Regulations, CFR. The Bureau of Healthcare Quality and Compliance has oversight for all facility types and ensures that they meet state and federal regulations. In addition to the CFRs, the Affordable Care Act that was passed in 2010 put additional federal requirements on long-term facilities, which require an employee of a facility to report any reasonable suspicion of a crime committed against a resident of the facility that causes serious bodily injury within 2 hours. They define serious bodily injury as extreme physical pain or risk of imminent death. It all starts by making a report, which is reviewed by Adult Protective Services. Case investigations are opened and assigned to an APS worker based on the allegation. The law states that the investigation is to commence within 3 working days. APS has a triage system in place and, if needed, may begin the investigation within 24 hours of receiving a report. APS workers provide intervention APS to assist clients. APS workers may refer cases to law enforcement based on their findings of the investigation. Law enforcement may investigate and refer to the district attorney if for possible prosecution. A mandatory reporter is someone who is required by Nevada law to notify a particular state or local agency when the person in his or her professional or occupational capacity knows or has reason to believe that the vulnerable adult is being abandoned, abused, exploited, isolated, or neglected. Reports should be made immediately or within 24 hours. Failure to report is a misdemeanor punishable by law up to 6 months in jail and/or a fine of $1,000. While Nevada law has established penalties for those who fail to report, Nevada law also provides immunity from civil suits or prosecution to those who make reports in good faith, even if those reports cannot be substantiated, to further encourage reporting of suspected abuse. As you can see, there are a large number of professionals who are required by law to report any suspicion of vulnerable adult abuse. The most common categories of mandatory reporters are medical professionals, healthcare providers, mental health counselors, service providers, and virtually all government employees who come into contact with vulnerable adults. Individual bank employees are not mandated to report directly to APS or law enforcement. They have to report to their designated person, and then that person reports to law enforcement or Adult Protective Services. The report must contain the following information when possible: the name and address of the vulnerable adult, the name and address of the person responsible for his or her care, if there is one, and the name and address, if available, of the person who is alleged to have abandoned, exploited, abused, neglected, or isolated the vulnerable adult. The nature and extent of the abandonment, abuse, exploitation, isolation, or neglect of the vulnerable adult, any evidence of previous injuries, the basis of the reporter's belief that the vulnerable adult has been abandoned, abused, exploited, isolated, or neglected. Note: potential abuse is not reportable. The reporter must state the reasons and/or facts that led them to believe that the abuse has occurred. Here is our contact information to report vulnerable adult abuse. This is our toll-free number and can be called from anywhere in the United States. As a reminder, we are a state agency and our office hours are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. If there is imminent danger, we ask people to call law enforcement. When someone calls our office after hours, on a holiday, or during the weekend, they will be given an opportunity to be transferred to the Crisis Support Services of Nevada, formerly known as the Crisis Call Center. Crisis Support Services of Nevada is trained to take reports of vulnerable adult abuse and will forward the report to our office, which is received on the next business day. They are also trained to contact law enforcement if there appears to be imminent danger. This vulnerable adult abuse PowerPoint training is available on our website, adsd.nv.gov. Our website also details all the programs and services offered by Aging and Disability Services Division.